Hi, welcome. My name is Dale McCluskey, and on this video is part of my series pertaining to dog training and a process. I want to talk about the picture itself, the starting point, and why it matters in terms of the jumping in point when a dog owner is already experiencing an ongoing relationship problem with their dog. In a prior video, I discussed this in terms of, lining up to the parenting example. If, again, experiencing a relationship problem between a parent and an already selfish child, again, I use the already selfish child example in terms of understanding escalation of behavioral issues, okay, how that aligns almost perfectly, okay, dogs are social animals, depth of relationship. But in terms of, again, bringing the entire focus onto response, at the very beginning in a very superficial way. Again, I talk about this issue of bribery, and again, you put that word out, and people will question that, say, okay, what is bribery? But again, this is where you have to apply critical thinking. This is where you need to step back and connect dots. Okay, ask serious questions as to the picture, as to what represents a standard. Ask yourself the question: is it really about just a sit down, come and stay? Regardless of how you got there, okay? It's not about, just trying to draw your full attention to responses a certain way, but without questioning how those dots actually connect, okay? Relationship, depth, how you're perceived. And again, drawing back to the parenting example, it's no different. I talk about, say, a parent who's perceived a certain way by an already selfish child, and looking at more of the permissive parenting style and, a child, responding. I talk about this thing about signing a contract, right? A relationship contract where things are already established. It's a given. I do this, I get that. That type of thing. Where how that sets up this type of scenario where people will draw into responses and not question any of it. Just give it all a green light. Say, here's your certificate, you're good to go. And again, going back to the real world or going back to your home environment after spending time and money only to discover this is a disconnected picture, okay? Things felt really good. Get the pet all over my dog. My dog was doing the sit down, come and stay, doing it down, looked fantastic. However, okay, I'm still dealing with this whole laundry list of behavioral problems that haven't gone away. And what, why did this, what's going on here? And maybe you call up the trainer and only discover, well, give it more time, or we tried, or it's the genetics of the dog. You'll hear a whole bunch of excuses. And the reality is, okay, it's about the jumping in point. Okay, it's about how that picture was being, how that's actually being painted, but nothing about what underpins all of it. Okay, and again, I talk about the parent example and the child's responding. What's actually, motivating those responses, and how does that connect to the relationship side of things? So important. Because it's about context. Understand you have to be able to define the relationship properly, connect those dots. And the parenting example is so helpful because, there's things that seem just very obvious. It's like, okay, well, yeah, of course, that would set up a problem if you just started, handing out the, motivating agents such as the Xbox game and child to make their bed and draw into all those responses and say, well, those are good responses, but based again on how you're establishing that and what you're trying to draw into your focus that way without actually engaging all those themes I talked about in my first video about being dialed in, invested, interacting with, how is parental influence established, all those themes that are absent is the same. It understands follows the exact same path, it's the exact same theme. So again, it's all about understanding this whole issue about there's a picture problem in the dog training world, and if you look at the blame shifting, that's all like a package deal. It goes along with this idea that training is a learning-based exercise. You hear so much of the positive reinforcement. I'm going to talk about all that in these videos, but always to help people step back from this. Okay, you have to apply critical thinking. Where's it all begin? Where's all the problems start? Well, it starts at the beginning. Okay, with how people are jumping in and simply not considering why just motivating responses that way in a very superficial way, why that's so problematic. Consider again, when you have a dog and there's moments that are going to offer some clarity, context, such as walking your dog on a leash. When walking the dog on the leash a certain way, right next to you, with influence being part of the equation. You bring a dog under leadership, under influence, and a dog that's already holding a level of control. They're going to challenge that. Okay, there's going to be some kickback. Versus let your dog go in front of you. You'll see much better, right? On a body harness out in front. But it's that theme of, accommodation, negotiation, bribery, right? Brings comfort, right? Dog's agreeable. So even the context of agreeableness, which I'm going to talk about, again, going through about context. So it's so important to understand that you can't just operate off appearances that way, especially if your jumping in point is wrong. Okay, understand that it's so critical at the beginning how you jump into a relationship problem in terms of how you're interacting with and how that connects to actually changing perceptions of dogs. Influence being part of the equation that way. So critical. So understand the whole thing about a pitcher problem, okay, in the dog training world. This is where the problem's at. But again, you talk about, well, my dog doesn't, think about that. My dog doesn't walk well on a leash. Well, what's the leash represent the right way, right? Bring a dog under a level of control, right? So for a dog that's holding control, right, you're trying to bring a dog under control, it's going to get out of control, right? Because the dog's saying, hold on here a second, I own the joint, right? I own everything. And, and think about the crate, right? What's the crate represent? Beyond, people have ideas about the crate, which I'll talk to in these videos about, punishment, isolation. That's not how I think, because you have to apply the relationship side of things. Okay, what's a crate represent? Because how that connects to the human, right? It represents control. Well, for a dog that has gained control in a relationship and you're trying to control a dog, well, guess what? It's not making sense. The dog's saying, well, this individual's trying to control me. I'm going to break out. Okay, it ain't going to happen. But again, right? Think about, well, giving them more freedom, right? Seems to accommodate, it makes things better, but it actually can lead to even a more major problem. Suddenly you come home and your couch is torn to pieces, and you're like, what? Because it's like it's escalating, right? So you're following that path of, again, accommodation, negotiation, bribery. But again, it comes back to you, how you engaging at that level as a parent, right? As through leadership, meeting your dog's social needs. You have to walk it back. You have to say, okay, I have to get back to the proper starting point. Jump in the right way. So, and the good news about this, understand that on top of the system of training, what makes it really special is understand that so much of this, it's all fixable. Nature's all about, second chances, third chances, because, when you understand that the focus is on the human, and dogs are following the path of nature, so therefore, regardless of your situation, okay, even if you cycle through this very popular idea and you're like, feel like totally frustrated, your back's up against the wall, the good news is, okay, it's just like starting new again, okay? And dogs are great, they're amazing. They teach us a lot about life, but it's about understanding about your starting point, okay? Actually being able to walk it back. I tell so many people, they'll talk about reading certain books or, thinking certain ways. I say, forget about all that. The good news is, okay, just moving forward, taking that first step. So understand that everything's about the start, it's all about the starting point, the jumping in point. Think about that, how you jump in and what the whole focus is on, and then the consequences of that, blame shifting, all those things. Well, at the very beginning, the connection point, okay, just like, as a parent, the moment you connect, the moment you make contact, it begins, okay? That's why I really draw into it with people, understanding that, being proactive. So I'm going to talk about some of these themes in the next video, proactive versus reactive, the themes I've talked about, but really in a more tangible way. What does that actually mean through a methodology itself? Thanks for watching.